So today we'll be getting into Finn's comments, Kofi Kingston, and a Sasha Banks appearance. Let's start things off with this dream matchup that's been around for roughly 2 years now. And that is, of course, the Demon vs. the Fiend. Obviously, everyone remembers how the Fiend debuted over 2 years ago. Bray Wyatt returned with the debut of the Firefly Funhouse, before teasing the debut of his new in-ring persona, the Fiend. There was great high-quality backstory there for the Fiend, and Bray has told it before. According to Bray, the Fiend was this monster-like figure that he came across in the woods, and eventually, over time, they sort of morphed into one being. The Fiend was Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt was the Fiend, that sort of thing. Bray Wyatt brought this monster figure into WWE to have its first match against Finn at SummerSlam 2019. Finn and Bray have feuded a few years before that, so this was one of those classic revenge arcs for Bray Wyatt. He was getting back at Finn for what happened a few years earlier. And like we continued to see, the Fiend would go on to really focus on superstars that have wronged Bray in the past. But before his match with Finn, the debut match, it was beyond one-sided for obvious reasons. It was the Fiend's first ever match, so you sort of want to showcase him in the best way possible by showing how strong he is. And that's exactly what they did. The Fiend made quick work out of Finn, and they haven't crossed paths since. Finn didn't even stick around on the main roster after that match with the Fiend. Finn would end up returning to NXT in late 2019 and has reestablished himself as a main event caliber superstar. Finn is one of the most talented superstars in the ring, no doubt about it. But similar to a lot of NXT superstars that come to the main roster, he just got lost in the shuffle. Just like most recently with Keith Lee, he's main eventing NXT as a double champion. But then he comes to the main roster and it just felt like they had no idea what to do with him from the start. So that's something we see a lot. Superstars have great success in NXT. They seem like WWE's next big thing. But they get called up to the main roster, and the main roster's creative team doesn't really prioritize them, so they lose that spark that they once had in NXT. That's why a lot of NXT superstars have put out there that they don't want to be called up. They know what's waiting for them on the main roster, and that's absolutely nothing. Just a directionless mess over there, so they often say that they want to stay put in NXT, and you can understand why. So Finn made the move to go back to NXT, and it put him right back on track. He became world champion a few more times, and has been one of NXT's top headliners. But it appears that Finn is open to shifting back over to the main roster, especially for one big match. Finn had this to say when talking about the Fiend's debut via the Out of Character podcast. I thought it was great. I feel like it's what it needed to be. It was the debut of the Fiend, and he needed to be strong. I feel like that character is evolving. I think it's one of the coolest things in wrestling. I hope it has a lot more years to come. I hope we get to go back to the Prince versus the Fiend. I hope we get to go back to the Demon versus the Fiend. And I love it, the Fiend. So yeah, getting back to that matchup, it's been something everyone has discussed for a while. Bray got his revenge as his alter ego, so why can't Finn return in his demon alter ego and try to get his revenge on the Fiend? It makes sense, and it's a very fair, balanced matchup. Some may even say that the demon has the advantage because his streak still remains intact. It's been roughly 6 years since the demon was introduced to WWE, and he has never lost a single match or got pinned at all. A 6-year undefeated streak. Every single time the Demon has stepped foot in the ring, he has stepped out victorious, so you have that going there. The Fiend, on the other hand, is still dominant and still a fan favorite, but he's definitely had some rough patches. As a matter of fact, he's on a massive losing streak as of this moment. His last actual win was probably around last fall. So when you look at it that way, 6-year undefeated streak against 6 months of no wins. You just have to give the edge to Finn in that matchup. But naturally, based off of both characters alone and what they represent, this would be another massive WWE matchup. Who needs the win more? I think everyone can agree that it's most likely the Fiend. The Fiend is at a point right now where he can't really afford another big loss. Especially in the state that the character is in, and the massive back-to-back losses he's coming off of, he needs to win whatever his next match may be, and giving the Fiend the title of being the one responsible for ending the Demon's 6-year undefeated streak would be a nice accomplishment for him as well. But then again, do you really want to end Finn's undefeated streak that has been around for half a decade? It's a tough call to make, but who would you have coming out as the winner between the Fiend and the Demon? Kofi Kingston is finally opening up about his highly talked about match with Brock Lesnar from 2019. That really wasn't a match. Kofi climbed to the top to become WWE champion after fighting for more than a decade. He beat Daniel Bryan for the title. He had a long feud with Randy Orton. He was actually starting to have a great reign. That was until Brock Lesnar came around. Brock defeated Kofi for the WWE title in about 8 to 9 seconds. After everything Kofi had done, that was the end to his reign, to go out like that. Kofi recently spoke with DAZN and had this to say about the match. I told a lot of people that if it was up to me, I would have had that match be different in the way that it went down. But the thing is that it's not up to me. I think what we need to realize is you control what you can control. That's it. I don't get mad over what I can't control. I show up to work and it's like, what we're doing. Okay, maybe we can do it like this, but we're going to do it like this. Then, once you have the outline of what's going to happen, that's the way you proceed. I wish it would have gone down differently. I appreciate that a lot of people were so angry with the way that it went down. I'm always just trying to work towards what's next. For me to come into work and be disgruntled about the way that things were handled, I'm the only one that's going to be affected by that. But what I can control is going out and starting afresh, getting back on the horse and riding, and keeping that positive attitude. I would say that I was disappointed with the way that it went down. But again, I wasn't so mad that I was going to come into work and just pout. I'm not going to come pout and be mad. That's not my style. I've never been like that. It's always been just a matter of just pushing forward no matter what. So that's what I did. You just keep on marching until the wheels fall off. Kofi looks to get back into the WWE title picture if he could defeat Drew McIntyre on Raw. Sasha Banks has been missing since WrestleMania week, but she took to Instagram this week to post some pictures of herself hanging out with the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Tamina and Natalya, at a birthday party. Sasha's new heart tattoo can also be seen on her finger. For fans wondering about Sasha's return, one thing is now for certain, and that's the fact that she will appear on the July 16th edition of SmackDown, and she's being advertised on the Money in the Bank banners as well. So we're getting close to a return for Sasha Banks. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.